Middle East and North Africa region, MENA, are at the center of the ongoing conflict from the Israel-Hamas war to shipping disruptions around the Red Sea corridor and beyond. Each day, of course, the outlook for the region becomes increasingly uncertain, and the downside risks keep going up. A team of delegates at the World Economic Forum in Saudi Arabia discussed the prospects for economic growth and stability for the MENA region in the near to medium term.
This year, it's a tale of two cities. It's a year of shocks and at the same time, a year of resilience. A year of recovery, but also a year of very slow growth. Year of high inflation in certain countries, but year of very well, managed inflation. Therefore, you can read the situation in different ways, which makes it very challenging to set the same set of policy recommendations for countries. But first, in time of resilience, you need to increase your buffers. And this is something that works for all countries. In times of shocks, you need to make sure that you have the right safeguards, especially at the social level. In times of also large transformations, it's not only the geoeconomic fragmentations that are going to reshape, but also the new opportunities for countries who could play the role of connectors. Saudi is trying to play the role of connectors. Therefore, we have several transformations that are taking place. Of course, the headline is more on the geopolitical tension, but there are different stories. You have the story of the new transformative sectors, AI, climate, where investment is being made. You have the potential of the connectivity that is being created with Asia, China, India, Central Asia, Africa, that could create the potential. You have the journey of diversification for the GCC countries that have shown a resilience faced with several shocks since the COVID-19, and yet you still have level of growth that is between 4 to 4.5% on the non-oil sector. You have the resilience of the oil market with this huge level of uncertainty. The market of oil has been nervous for a few weeks and it has normalized. Therefore, it's very difficult to manage such a complex situation. For that, you have to be more sub-region specific and country specific at the same time. The last point that I want to highlight here is there is a short-term impact of conflict, but there is long-lasting impact of those type of events that we need to take into consideration. This is why we decided this year in our outlook to focus on two important files. One, the impact of conflicts, the long-lasting impact of conflicts, who appear to be higher in the region compared to other parts of the world, and trade, because we are strategically at the center of global trade. And it affects us not only because of revenues or because the countries who have ports on the Red Sea, but our future will be defined by our ability to connect with Europe, to connect with Africa, to connect also with Asia. And this is where, despite all the noise we see and the tension and the risks, we need to think about those priorities for the future.
Well, let's talk about conflict as a priority. And so let me come to you and very specifically on the conflict in Gaza at present. There are real concerns here and around the region about a protracted conflict that has already caused immense human suffering, both in Gaza and in Israel. The risk of that spilling over into the wider region still exists. As we speak, key stakeholders are here in Riyadh discussing how to put an end to the war and forge a path ahead. I know that you can't tell us whether or not Hamas will accept the current Egyptian plan tabled for a ceasefire and the release of hostages. That it doesn't lie in your file. But here in the kingdom, there is a real effort to ensure that there is an end to this conflict, a ceasefire, and then a plan for the day after. What can you tell us about that pan-Arab, sort of unified Arab plan for post conflict, Gaza? And how does Saudi normalization with Israel as an agreement fit in going forward, and is that a likelihood?
I think you pointed out the dangers of this, and conflict doesn't serve anything. It undercuts the ability to try to integrate the region and to unleash the economic potential of this region. Our region is a young region, a young population, very dynamic, tremendous natural resources, large capital base, strategic and very important geographic location. So all the elements for success and prosperity exist. And our objective is to link the region with the world and to be able to put the resources of the region together so we can create synergies that have a positive impact on all the inhabitants of the region. This is complicated by the tensions that we have in the region. So our objective is to try to put an end to these tensions so we can focus on the things that matter: economic development and prosperity. With regards to the situation in Gaza, our number one priority right now is to stop the fighting. Then the second priority is to ensure that if enough humanitarian assistance goes into the Gaza Strip so that we avoid starvation, we avoid disease, and we take care of the people there. And then, of course, in terms of long term, we need to find a way to end this conflict. And the only way we can end this conflict is by having a two-state solution. So we need to chart a clear, time-bound, irreversible path to a Palestinian state, so everybody knows where we're going. That's how we put an end to this. Saudi Arabia said in terms of normalization that this would be a part of it. The Arab world has had a position with regards to the Arab Peace Initiative. The United States supports this. The rest of the world supports this. We just need to make sure that we stop the fighting, increase assistance, humanitarian assistance going in, and then come up with a pathway towards a Palestinian state.
Are the parameters for a unified Arab plan clear at this point? And what does an irreversible path for Palestinians going forward, an irreversible path for Palestinians and a horizon for them? What does that look like at this point? Is it clear?
Yeah, this is something that the negotiators have to work the details on, and it has to do with different elements that have to be put together. But we know what the ultimate objective is, which is two states. Palestinian state on 67 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. We know this. This is enshrined in UN resolutions. This is enshrined in the Arab Peace Initiative. Now the question becomes, how do you do this, and in the process also ensure security guarantees for both states? How much time does it take? How do you build capacity? How do you, if you look at the Oslo Agreement, there was an agreement to go from areas from B to A and C to B, and then eventually from B to A. So you expand the authority of the Palestinian Authority so that you have a state. Now the issue here is how do we need to come up with a roadmap that has a timeline that is irreversible, so we know that we will get there if we take the steps that will lead us there.
Let me just press you. Do you have any confidence that Benjamin Netanyahu, as Prime Minister, and his right-wing government have got any interest in a two-state solution at this point? Because if that is the irreversible path towards peace and success and a Palestinian horizon, you have to have some confidence that this government will sign up.
I am not a mind reader, so I can't, nor am I a psychiatrist. That's not what I was educated to be, nor is that my profession. But what I can tell you is the interests of everybody in the region requires that we put an end to this conflict, and it requires that we move from conflict and war and destruction to development and creating prosperity and jobs for our youth and unleashing the potential of this region. It serves everybody to have an end to this conflict. The potential that can be unleashed is tremendous. That, along with all the other conflicts, but this is the longest conflict that has been in our region. And it's time that we find an end to it. And I believe that with goodwill, with seriousness, and with foresight, we should be able to move the ball across the goal line.